situated here. Want to first thank everybody for coming. Obviously a historic day for our athletics program. It means a lot to have you here on short notice, and excited to talk about today's announcement and what that means not only for excuse me, our athletics program, but of course also the entire University of Illinois. I want to talk about the announcement from earlier, Larry Geese's commitment of $100 million to support DIA and adding his name to our football stadium, which will now be known as Geese Memorial Stadium. Before I get into substantive comments, I think it's worth taking a few minutes just to reflect on where we are as an athletics program. To have a top 10 football program for the first time since 2001, a program that tied a school record just a year ago with 10 wins, culminating the season with the Cheez-It Citrus Bowl championship. On Saturday, we'll play, obviously, a talented Western Michigan team in front of the first of what should be at least 3 consecutive sellout crowds, something that not so long ago seemed like an imagination, and here we are living in that reality. We also have the Big Ten's most successful men's basketball program over the last 6 seasons, 88 regular season and conference tournament wins, highlighted by 3 different Big Ten championships. One of 4 schools in the country, of course, with 6 consecutive regular seasons with more than 20 victories. One of only 3 Big Ten schools and 13 teams in the country to appear in the last 5 consecutive NCAA tournaments. In women's basketball, Shauna Green has resurrected that program, taking us to the NCAA tournament in 2 out of the last 3 years, on either side of winning our first postseason tournament in program history, the WBIT. Women's track and field this spring finished 8th at the NCAA indoor meet, 5th at the NCAA outdoor meet, our highest finishes in almost 30 years. Men's golf obviously has written its own record book here over the last 2 decades under Mike Small. We just won our 7th NCAA regional title, advanced to the NCAA championships for the 16th time in the last 17 years, to go along with 13 of the last 16 Big Ten championships. And then most recently, women's soccer. I hope everybody's had a chance to follow what's happening there under our new head coach, Katie Holteen, now 7-0, one of only 2 undefeated teams left in the country in that sport. And the truth is, in every sport, I mentioned just a few, but in those and so many others, our student athletes are excelling at an incredibly high rate and moving the bar higher every single day. And I hope that brings great pride to everybody who wears the orange and blue across the country. Academically, our student athletes just past year posted a combined GPA of 3.54, the highest on record, and so it's worth noting that their successes are not happening only in the competitive arena, but in the classroom as well. And I think as these statistics demonstrate, we have assembled really a remarkable coaching staff, and I hope everybody appreciates the group that we have together. They are just visionary leaders, and they're leading our student athletes with incredible integrity, competitive urgency, and skill. And we are systematically seeking long-term commitments from those coaches to advance our strategy of continuity and stability during an exceptionally unstable time across all of college athletics. Against this backdrop, and speaking of visionary leaders, enter Larry Geese. I first had the opportunity to meet Larry in October of 2017. I attended the event, as did many people, when we celebrated his $150 million gift to name our College of Business. It was the first time that I met him, and first time that many people in our university community became aware of the Geese name. Since then, in the 8 years that have followed, I've been fortunate to share a lot of meals with him, a lot of games, a lot of flights, a lot of special memories, many heartfelt, thoughtful conversations with Larry. And anybody who has spent 5 minutes with Larry understands just how special he is. And I'm excited for all of you to get to know him more in the years ahead. He has incredible passion, I would say boundless energy, and he's remarkably energetic. He's driven to excel. There's really no time for complacency. He's humble, yet confident. He's brilliant, yet curious. He is generous with his time and his knowledge. He cares deeply about this place. And I think everybody who knows me understands how much I care about this place. And it's been really inspiring for me to meet somebody who has that same passion for the University of Illinois. It's a place that has made a profound impact on him, and he believes in this place fully, unequivocally. He is generous to a fault, not only with his financial resources, but with his time. When Larry makes gifts like this one, he builds partnerships, and he shows up for his partners. Just a quick story, last week I had the opportunity to attend a class over at the Geese College of Business that Larry was teaching, which he does every fall. He's down here on Thursday evenings teaching undergraduate students the basics of business. And so not only does he invest his dollars, but he invests himself, and he truly believes in helping organizations build towards greater aspiration. Through these moments I've had with Larry, I realized he was someone we needed to have as a partner to this athletic program. Someone who could help transform this place and this program and the lives of so many people associated with it. And thankfully, as it turns out, Larry felt the same way. And you'll have an opportunity to visit with him in the future. But I'll never forget a conversation he and I had in my office. Howard Milton was there, where he talked to us about wanting to do something profound for the athletics program. He talked about wanting to do something big. He challenged us to think big. He said that he wanted to help us take advantage of our most compelling opportunities. What were those places where he could fit to help us accelerate this program in the most important and impactful ways? That conversation was in 2021, over 4 years ago, and really represented the launch point of this partnership with Larry. Ever since then, we have been continuing to build trust and engaging in creative thinking and conversations with Larry, spending time together, constructing a vision for where we think this program can go. When I attend events with community members or students or other people, I get asked a lot about fundraising. People always assume that fundraising is about, quote unquote, selling something. And what I try and tell them is that effective fundraising isn't about selling, it's a lot about listening. And so we've been fortunate over these last years to have the opportunity to listen very intently to Larry. And we've learned a lot about him through that process. We've learned that Larry's father, Larry Geese Sr., enlisted in the United States Army during the time of the Vietnam War. Larry has incredible affection for his dad, and he has great respect for our men and women in uniform. He's from a small town, not far from where Coach Bielema and Coach Green were raised, up in the northwest part of the state, Mendota, Illinois. We learned that one of his earliest Illinois memories was coming here to an Illinois football game with his father. We learned that Larry has incredible affinity for this football program, and he understands the impact of success in Illinois football, not only on Illinois athletics, but more importantly to him and to me, candidly, of the impact that success in football can have on the entire University of Illinois. He is a true believer in the front porch philosophy of athletics at this level and of what it can mean for the elevation of the entire institution. We learned from Larry in our conversations that he wanted to do something transformative. He wouldn't tell us a number, we asked him, but he said, "You won't know if you don't ask." And so we put together all the information we'd gathered from those listening sessions, and we arrived at one conclusion: we needed to ask, and we needed it to be about the stadium. We thought if we did that, he might just say yes. To talk a little bit about the stadium, I hope, for those of you who've been around this program for a while, I think everybody understands what my feelings are about this place. It's highly, highly personal for me. It's a place that obviously I have incredible memories from both my time as a player and more recently now as the athletic director. Incredible memories, times with my teammates, with our student athletes, with coaches, with colleagues, with fans, with my family. This is one of the most majestic, important buildings in our state. It represents so much of what this university and the people of this state are about. It represents sacrifice. It represents honor and loyalty and service. It represents humility and excellence. And it was imperative to me that we protect and preserve this stadium, its mission, its history, its tradition. That, I think, is one of the biggest, most important responsibilities that I have as the athletic director here. I have a lot of different things where I need to focus my time, but making sure that this building remains what it is and what it has been in the next 100 years is right near the top of that list. It's a charge that has resonated across our entire department. Roger Denny, Tim Knox, Ryan Jones, our entire facilities crew, we have invested tens of millions of dollars into this building over the last 4 or 5 years, preparing in large part for last year's centennial celebration, but knowing how important this building is, not only to this athletics program, but to the entire state. And it's, I think, reflected in the great work that we have done here and the building being, I think, in a better place now than it has been in decades. As we've been planning for the next 100 years of the stadium, we've talked a lot about how do we not only protect and preserve it, but how do we advance it? How do we take the stadium into the next 100 years and make sure that we build on the legacy, that we continue to honor the purpose of this building while at the same time making it modern and allowing it to function for a modern, everyday, high-level football program. We knew then that we would benefit from a partner, but we had to find the right one. And so as we started the conversation with Larry, we knew we had someone who would share our appreciation for the building, our commitment to its continued mission and longevity, someone who understood that the Memorial Stadium name is untouchable, that anything we would do from a recognition standpoint would not be a replacement, but an addition. Someone who cares deeply about this university and its future success, someone who has a connection to the armed services and is interested in continuing to honor the memory of our men and women in uniform. Again, all those arrows pointed back to Larry Geese. Our team, led by Howard, Bobby Busboom has been a big part of this project. We had a very memorable meeting with Larry. We talked about the stadium. We talked about the history and the legacy. We talked about the opportunity to bring his history and legacy in line with that of this stadium. We had actually prepared a special story of the stadium book. A lot of you are familiar with that book. We talked with him about writing his own chapter in that story of the stadium that goes all the way back to that important meeting up at Kinney Gym when the students stepped forward and said, "I will give, sir." This was a chance for somebody else to step forward in a very meaningful way and make a commitment to the longevity and continued relevance of this building for future generations. You know, we didn't say yes on the spot, but it started yet another conversation. It allowed us to continue to exchange ideas, to ask questions, to consider a shared future. And now, here we are. It's a gift, a transformational gift that will honor our veterans, elevate our program, and ultimately uplift our entire university. We will have an event on Friday, a public event that I don't think we've talked about yet. We'll start at 10:30. It'll be held here on the field inside the stadium. Everybody is welcome. No tickets are required. The ROTC will participate, and we'll be extending special invitations to local veterans to join us as well. Larry will be here and will be available to visit with all of you in an availability following the festivities. I'm sure there'll be questions about what we plan to do with the money. The gift, of course, as these gifts are, is pledged over the next several years. We will use it to support the football program with a focus on this stadium. Some of the early payments will go to fund improvements that will be in place for next football season. Some of the things that we've talked about, the new video board package, which includes not just the premier board in the south, but I think another 17 or 18 boards spread out throughout the stadium, a new sound system, new lights. Beyond that, we've engaged an architecture firm that will help us evaluate different optionality here within the stadium, consider what is the best use of Larry's resources. How do we benefit this, not only this building, but ultimately our fans and our program. Make no mistake, this partnership is about the stadium, it's about the football program, but ultimately working with Larry will benefit everybody connected to Illinois athletics. As I mentioned earlier, when he gives a gift like this, he gives of himself. And even though maybe you all haven't seen him as prominently, he has been very involved in our program now for a number of years behind the scenes. He's very present for not only our football team, but many of our sports. And I'm excited for him to have the chance to spend more time on our campus, to be around our student athletes from all of our programs, have a chance to interact with our coaching staff and other members of our administrative staff as well. To wrap it up and then open it up for your questions, I want to thank so many different people. As you hopefully you've started to see, this is a gift that's been many years in the making. There's been a lot of people who have been involved in building this relationship and rapport with Larry. We've had a lot of different coaches, a lot of different staff members, obviously our development team who have invested a lot of time with Larry and gotten to know him, helped him believe in us, because ultimately, as you will hear him say, you give gifts like this to people, and we just have such exceptional people connected to this program, and I'm really grateful that Larry has given us the time to understand who we have involved and why the future of this program can be so impactful. I want to give a special shout out to Howard again, Howard Milton. This is a career-defining gift for somebody who works in philanthropy, and for Larry to lead, or for Howard to lead us through to a gift like this one is really an incredible achievement for him, a remarkable accomplishment. Also want to shout out Bobby Busboom. Bobby has grown to be one of our primary relationship managers with Larry, talks to him almost every day about different elements connected to the program and ultimately his support. And we wouldn't be here without either of them and the great work that they've done in maintaining that relationship and building that trust that ultimately has led us to this point. So let me stop and take a drink of water and answer whatever questions you guys might have.
Josh, you mentioned what you're earmarking it for with football, but just in general, what does a donation of this caliber mean for your overall athletics at this time when expenditures are so high?
I think in terms of a gift like this, there are different ways to measure its impact. There's obviously the financial impact of the gift, and there are a lot of new opportunities in college athletics, a lot of places where our expenses are growing, a lot of chances where for us to make strategic investment to ultimately advance our success. Of course, a gift like this is going to have an impact on our opportunity to do those things and take full advantage. I think just as importantly, there's a symbolism to a gift like this, and I think it demonstrates to the college athletics world, and just as importantly, perhaps more importantly, to our little corner of that world, our Fighting Illini athletics, University of Illinois community, that people like Larry see what's happening within our program. They value what our program does, not only for the people directly within it, but for our broader university community, and they are choosing to invest their scarce resources with us. And I know from talking with Larry, he's excited about what that can mean for the other people connected to Illinois athletics. He hopes that this gift is an inspiration to others, that they see someone like him tapping us on the shoulder and saying, this is a group that I believe in, this is a group that I want to invest in, you too should believe in them, you too should invest in them. And I think we've seen that now with the Geese College of Business and the incredible success that has come from that moment when his name was placed upon that college. And I think we're expecting and hoping for similar benefits to come to this athletics program, and I know that certainly is his vision as well.
Josh, in regard to the stadium, are there any specific things that the architects are taking a look at?
No, we've given them really carte blanche to evaluate the entire building, to consider different possibilities. We know that Obviously, it's a 100-year-old building. I'm really proud of the way that we continued to honor the history of this building, going all the way back to the major renovations in 2007 that created this space, to do it within the confines of the original envelope of the building, to continue to have the columns and the plaques as prominently featured as they are. But we also recognize that today's fans want and need some different amenities. They want to be able to use technology in different ways. They want to be able to have a different experience in the building than perhaps at different moments in history. And so how can we look to integrate elements like that into the building while at the same time preserving the building and its core mission in terms of honoring our fallen veterans?
Josh, added to the names of the building, is there some hoops you had to jump through to get that done? Tell me what kind of went into that whole process, because I can't imagine that's a quick one-day thing, or, you know.
No, it's absolutely not. It's not, you don't just put somebody's name on Memorial Stadium by yourself. And so we've been fortunate here. We've engaged our university's leadership from the very early days of these conversations with Larry. Wanted to make sure there was a comfort level. We talked at length about what the right number would be. We talked about what the appetite would be and how we would frame it, how we would approach it. And so that's been an ongoing discussion now through two chancellors and through the president's office and others connected to the university. It's important for a building like this one. I don't think any person should be in a position to act unilaterally. This building means too much. It carries too much tradition and history to make sure that it's preserved and cared for by the university as the landmark that it is.
Josh, you said that it's kind of earmarked for football and the stadium, but obviously we all know Larry is a major, fan of all the sports you mentioned previously. If the money needs to be used for anything else in terms of not football or the stadium, can it be?
Those are conversations we'd be happy to have with Larry if we come to that point. I do think that, again, the early conversations were, where can I make the biggest impact? What's the way for our athletics program to provide the greatest benefit to the broader university? That really is a big driver for Larry. Larry believes in athletics. He wants to see us win at a high level. But like me, and this is something that really has connected us, he believes in the bigger purpose of success in athletics. And for me, it's never been about just winning. It's about what that winning can mean for this incredible institution and for the way that our success can amplify the brand of the University of Illinois, the way it can augment the reputation, the way that it will drive more applications, higher quality applications, more donor dollars, not to athletics, but to the different colleges, and more engagement with people who can make this place better in the long term. And so he sees the vehicle that football provides to do that, and certainly the stadium kind of embodies that. But he, again, is a really willing partner, and he's a wonderful listener. And so if our needs evolve over time, I'm confident that he'll be an active participant in those conversations as well.
Josh, how specifically did you, Larry, and everybody involved find that comfort level in adding to the stadium name? Because I mean, it is a big shift there.
It is, and I think when you started, a big part, again, of these processes for us is being a really strong listener and understanding what gets people excited and where their passions lie. And another part of our job is we're going to challenge people. We're going to ask people to stretch. And in order to do that, sometimes you have to put really meaningful opportunities to be recognized in front of them. And in my mind, the stadium, if it's not the single biggest opportunity we have, it's one of the top one or two. And so as we started to get down the path of thinking about where this could go with Larry, we knew the kinds of numbers that we wanted to put in front of him, and there were only so many options that we could use to try and capture that interest. And knowing, again, his history, his affinity for his dad's service, the way that he respects our armed services, and the level to which he holds this stadium in such high regard, we thought that engaging in a conversation about how to invest in and support this building for the next 100 years would be something that could resonate with him on a very personal level.
Maybe a question for Larry himself, but how much did winning on the field and confidence in Brett Bielema and his program kind of tip the scales for him?
This is not a gift that has happened in the last several months. You know, this is something that we have been working on for some time, and so I think the more recent success has been a cherry on top and something that really is excited him, and certainly he's very engaged and passionate. You've probably seen him on the sidelines at some of our games, but I think he sensed the direction that things were headed from some of our earliest conversations, and what has happened here over the last several years on the field I think has only helped to substantiate what he was surmising from the conversations we were having about the future and what was possible within this program.
Josh, do you have any interest at all in, personally, in the horseshoe and expanding that or moving it out? Could that be a part of this, or is that too big a issue?
Well, I think, again, every idea is on the table, and so we'll ask the architects to study a lot of different options. When it comes to the South specifically, we have over the last several years made really substantial investment in the South Horseshoe. We've spent over $20 million on the stadium over the last 4 years. A lot of that money has gone into the east side and the south. Almost none of it has gone here into the west. So we've replaced all the bathrooms, we've replaced all the windows, we've redone all the flooring, we've expanded the South Concourse. And so I think we really have tried to make the South a much more friendly environment for our fans. We've added more points of sale on the concession side. We've tried to make ingress and egress a more streamlined experience. We do have over the next year or two an additional almost $4 million allocated for continued improvements to the south view of the stadium. So we'll be taking out all the fencing along Kirby Avenue on the south border of the stadium. We'll be changing the way those two parking lots work on the southeast and the southwest corners, making those more green space, opening those up and making them more friendly for our fans on game day. We'll be redoing the south tunnel. So we have a lot of projects tied to the south, but we'll see ultimately if we do some sort of dramatic renovation in the south. Is a question that's still to be determined.
Did Larry express any particular desires for how he'd like to maybe see his gift used for football or the stadium in particular?
No, one of the great things about Larry, and he did this with the Geese College of Business, and my sense is that he intends to do the same thing with us, is he invests in people, and he has built a high level of trust, for better or for worse, with me, with Howard, with Bobby, with Coach Bielema. He has great confidence in where things are headed, and so he's given us a lot of discretion to determine for ourselves the best way to utilize these resources. Certainly, because he's been so involved, we will consult with him and get his input, but he's given no indication of an expectation of having a final vote or say in those decisions. But we'll certainly get his feedback, but there's been no upfront indications of, hey, this is what I want. He wants to be helpful and supportive, which is another of the really incredible qualities about Larry.
Josh, what have Coach Bielema's involvement been like in these discussions, and just what was his reaction to this investment?
Coach and Larry have built an incredible friendship. They have really connected on a great level, and again, Larry's been around our program a lot over the last several years. He's accompanied us on several road trips. He's on the sidelines at games. He's attended some meetings and been around our players. Again, when Larry creates a partnership, he pours himself into it, which is just something that is really special about him. And so he's on a first name basis with some of our players. He's talking to some of our student athletes about their futures and their careers. In some cases, he's even hired some of our student athletes to be interns with Madison Industries, his company. And so he's been very involved with football. He's got a great relationship with Coach. Coach, as you would expect, is ecstatic about the gift, and he'll participate in the event on Friday. And so people have a chance to hear from him as well. And I know everybody here is we'll also both be on the radio show, his radio show tomorrow night. And then he'll have his post-practice availability on Thursday to answer some questions on this too.
Josh, would Larry's gift also be allowed for like rev share payments for current and future athletes for the football program? Is that on the table?
Again, the money is not restricted within use for football or the stadium, and so Larry trusts us to use those dollars as we think is most appropriate. Our intent is to invest most of that into this building and preserving Memorial Stadium, but we'll continue to monitor and as we go, if those needs change, then we'll engage him in those conversations. But sitting here today, that's not the intent.
Josh, just asking for that staggering amount, what is that like? How did you guys come to that figure and put that on the table?
It's a process. We did a lot of benchmarking. We looked at what some similar gifts to name other stadiums had been. Probably the best example that we found was Booth Memorial Stadium at Kansas. That was a $50 million gift to name that stadium. Mr. Booth more recently came back with another $300 million gift, but the $50 million was the initial gift to name the facility. And I think there's a corollary there. And so we're hopeful that Larry again will be a great partner, and Larry's a young man. He's not even 60 years old. There's a lot of success in his future, and so there were a lot of conversations about what we'd seen happen at some other schools, and what we thought was possible with his investment, and what we learned early from our conversations with Larry was, again, the money obviously is important. He wants to make the biggest impact. And so as long as he felt like he had a chance to make an impact, then he was going to step forward with the dollars. And that became apparent through our conversations. If we were able to put a compelling vision in front of him of how he could be as impactful as possible, we felt like the money would follow. And again, to Larry's credit, that's the way he's always operated, at least in my interactions with him. And as soon as he understood what was possible here in terms of this building, Illinois football, and ultimately what those things could mean for the broader university, he was all in, and we're really grateful.
Your I think 2018-2019 season total athletic budget, according to USA Today, was $91 million. You told us in June at your meeting that this year would approach $190 million, and now we're sitting here talking about a $100 million additional, however that gets sorted by the years. But I mean, that's a substantial increase over 6 years. I mean, I just wanted you to put that into a picture for us. It's more than doubled in 6 years, and now here we sit with a $100 million donation.
Yes, it is interesting to reflect back on that. And when I came here now almost 10 years ago, I think our total budget was somewhere in the neighborhood of $95 million. This year in FY26, I expect we'll approach, if not exceed, $200 million. So to see that growth rate has been pretty breathtaking. And obviously a lot of that is attributed to some of the things that are happening at the conference level and some of the media deals and the expansion of the CFP. And there are a lot of things that happen that we're not a direct participant in per se, but we're also seeing the largest increase in college football in our average attendance. We're seeing 3 sellouts for the first time in however many years. We're seeing an incredible uptick in the interest for not only this football program, but now a basketball program that operates at nearly 100% capacity, and donors and fans who are stepping forward in a way that we've never seen in this program's history. And I think that's a credit to everybody. There are so many people connected to this program. And when I first got here, and some of you maybe were in some different settings where you may have heard me say this, I used to tell a story about cracking a boulder. And I talked about how everybody, every time they bought a sweatshirt, every time they made a gift, every time they bought a ticket, like every time somebody did something to support this program, they took the sledgehammer in their hands and they took their turn swinging against that boulder. And we knew that day in and day out, that boulder wasn't really going to change, but that if everybody took their turn on the sledge, eventually that boulder would crack. And here we stand all these years later, and the boulder's shattered. And I just hope everybody feels incredible ownership of not only where we are, but where we've been. And because I think it's all part of our story. And you know, you can't appreciate where you stand today if you don't realize where you started. And so every person has been such an important part of getting us where we are today. And I think sometimes people hear $100 million gift, $20 million gift, $1 million gift, and they wonder if them buying season tickets really makes a difference. You know, they wonder if, well, yeah, if I give my payroll deduction every month of $100, does that really make a difference? The answer is yes, unequivocally yes. You know, every person in every way that they engage in this program makes a difference. And we've said for years, one of the things that we have as a university is we have numbers. We've got one of the largest alumni bases in the world, and if we can just find a way to align people and energize them behind this athletics program and indirectly behind this university, what we could do is without match. And I think to be where we are now is a direct reflection of a significant contingent of our people coming together and deciding that we wanted to make a difference. And you know, I just couldn't be to stand in this role the way that I have now for almost a decade, and to reflect back on the journey that we have traveled together. I couldn't be more profoundly grateful to every person who has picked up that sledgehammer, because we wouldn't be here without each and every one of them. And I hope our fans and everybody who's connected to our program feels that level of ownership and that sense of pride, because that's when we get gifts like this, it shouldn't discourage others from doing what they can do. If anything, it should inspire them to continue doing everything that they have done. And that, I hope, is the takeaway from today.
Josh, you've been on the end of getting a lot of these gifts for various things. For you, what's the most important, or one of the more important keys to cultivating that belief, that confidence in you guys, that money is kind of worth their time and investment?
A lot of it goes back to a conversation that Howard and I had in the very first meeting we had before we promoted him into his new role, which is that we have to make these relationships personal. These have to be relationships of depth and meaning, and they have to ultimately build into true friendships where it's not one-sided, it's not transactional. We don't want to just walk in the first time we meet somebody and ask them for money. We have to invest ourselves in them, take an active interest in their lives, listen to what they care about, understand what their dreams are, and then think about ways that we can use our program to help them meet those dreams, fulfill those dreams. And so the most impactful part of this entire experience for me with Larry and with so many others is just the privilege of getting the chance to build friendships with so many remarkable people. I mean, think about the life that Larry has lived to be in a position to give away $250 million. I mean, just pause and think about that, right? $150 million to the College of Business, $100 million to the Division of Intercollegiate Athletics. He has led a remarkable life, and the chance to sit and learn from him, and then multiply that by the dozens, if not hundreds, of other donors who we've had the privilege to sit with and break bread with and visit their homes. We're just getting a chance to live somebody else's life. You know, we get a chance to learn about other people and their journeys, to think about, I mean, I could go on for an hour about the people that we're fortunate enough to interact with on a daily basis. People in some cases who have not only experienced history, but lived it. You know, that just one quick example, I mentioned last week, I went to the College of Business to watch Larry teach. His guest speaker in that class was Sam Skinner. Sam's quoted in our materials today. Sam was the former White House Chief of Staff. He's the former Secretary of Transportation. He lived history. He's in class talking about interacting with George Bush and James Baker and just these incredible figures from United States history that he's one of my closest friends that we've built, you know, through these experiences. And so it's just it's really a privilege to be able to learn about these people and develop relationships that have true depth and personality to them.
Josh, I apologize, you haven't really thought about it this way, but like, when you think about the renovations to the stadium and how you want to keep the structural exterior the same, but inside making it innovative, is there confidence that you and your firm can do that with what you did across the street with State Farm Center, exteriorly and internally?
Yes, I do think it's a little premature to answer that question, but again, the integrity of this building is everything to me. And so we're going to do everything we can to make sure that we quote unquote do it right. And I think we've earned the trust of our fans and everybody in the way that we have operated about this building for the last several decades, going back to 2007. You compare this to some of the other projects that we can all identify where that hasn't been the case. We didn't build a new envelope around the stadium as we've seen in some other situations. We didn't drop a new apparatus on the inside of the stadium. I think we did a really nice job of incorporating the new with the old, and that's a tradition that I carry forward from Ron Gunther, Warren Hood, who was really the leader on that project. And so I don't know exactly where this will take us, but I do know that at the top of the list will be making sure that we continue to preserve and honor this building and its incredible legacy and what it's meant to represent.
Okay.
Thank you, everybody.